Welcome back, Bonnet Heads. I am Pamela Bob, creator of Living on a Prairie and host of this here podcast. Joining me, as always, is our one and only prairie bitch, Allison Arngrim, and still rocking it after 50 years, our hashtag imaginary boyfriend, Dean Butler. Hi, guys.
Thank you, Pamela. Good morning. Good morning.
You're still rocking it too, Allison.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, look at me rocking it in the flowers.
In the jungle.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm in the jungle.
Yes, you're in a very lovely atmosphere today.
I want to take a selfie of the screen.
Oh, here. More selfies. Here we go. Dean's on it with the socials, you guys.
Selfies.
Got to do that. Let's see if I can eat. But now I've got to be able to get to the camera. Here it is. All right, good. So it's lots of lights.
With the flowers.
Lights.
You're right. This is too good.
There we go.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. So we've got a few flowers there. Listen, we've been talking about the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary Cast Reunion Festival. And, given today's show, the subject of today's show, the guest in today's show, I think it's like more than appropriate to mention, and this is really, really cool for our event. We have people coming to our event from over 20 countries. And we have in the interface that where people are buying tickets, we can see on a world map where people are coming from. And they are coming from over 20 countries now, which is just amazing. On
social media and the emails we're getting too, they're from all over the world. It's baffling. It's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, I get
the
people.
The show's on in 140 countries?
Yeah,
it's in that ballpark. Well over 100 countries. It is all over the world. It's dubbed into every language.
Yeah, so I guess people really like us in other places. Allison, I know you are well, people you are in France this morning. I mean, you have this love affair with France.
Absolutely. Thing with the jungle because I'm in a wacky apartment in Paris playing in the flowers here. But yeah, I'm in France right now because I discovered some years ago, okay, they love us in Argentina, they love us in Japan, but the French really love La Petite Maison down the prairie. It's unusual. I think what happened is because Little House started showing there fairly early. A lot of times when a show gets sold to another country, it's many years into the run. It's only a few years into the run. And it was at a time when France really didn't have that many TV channels. In fact, we only had really the 3 networks ourselves. And French people traditionally go home for lunch. And, well, Little House of the Prairie was on every day at noon and still is. Wow. So you have all of these people who literally grew up seeing the show every single day. And, of course, they love me. I joke about it. I say that, of course, they love me because they don't think Nelly's mean. They think she's French. But the French saw the humor right away in Nelly and Mrs. Dulce. They did. They went, oh, no, those two are funny, like immediately and like latched onto it. And they just love the show and love it. And I did not really know the extent of this until I came here to do a talk show. Now 8 billion years ago, it seems, like 2002, and was just blown away by how much they love Little House on the Prairie and Nellie Olson. It was mind blowing.
Yeah. The show has been loved by so many people and sometimes for different reasons. I know that like Ronald Reagan, our president, Ronald Reagan, loved Little House. I think it was,
absolutely.
And a really contrasting thing, the Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran loved Little House on the Prairie.
That's Saddam Hussein.
Yeah. And I think so Reagan and those two others liked it for different reasons. Reagan liked it because it was this vision of this very sort of pure, wholesome America that we could reflect back on and find our best selves. I think the Ayatollah and Saddam Hussein liked it because they could tell their people that you have nothing to fear in the world from these people. If this is what America is, we're fine. They're just like us. Yeah. So anyway, I think it's sort of a fascinating thing, and then all over the world, people get it. in a really fun way.
I was at the problems of the Ingalls are the problems of the whole world. This is what I was told because I was meeting people from, Sri Lanka, Borneo, Germany, all over the world. And they said, well, we can identify with this. This is family and they're dealing with real life. They're dealing with real problems. They don't have a lot of money. They got a lot of kids. This is how people live. And so people really do get it all over the world. And then they really dig it here in France. So.
And Allison, what has specifically brought you to France this go around?
Because the first time I went to France, I found out that they're just gaga for the show. And so I met our guest who was involved in the talk show. I wound up meeting him. Yes, at the Eiffel Tower was technically our first meeting. The whole story is completely it's bananas. The whole story is actually that crazy. We met at the Eiffel Tower. And during all of our discussions, he said, one day, he said, and this is when he then comes to LA, and then we're on the beach at Malibu. It's Eiffel Tower, Malibu. It's all these movie iconic settings. And he said, we could do a version of your show because I have my stand-up act, as you know, Confessions of Prairie Bitch. He said, it would have to be changed. We'd have to do an adaptation for the French because you're talking about American celebrities and we don't know who these people are. But if we did it in French and change it, it could be done. Now, I spoke this much French at the time. I hadn't gone back to school yet to learn French. And then he hadn't been on stage. He was a writer, but he hadn't been on stage. And so next thing you know, we wind up doing this show. It was the craziest thing. And then it worked. It worked. So we kept going. We're now on our third show. He's now written.
Wait, Allison. You're telling me you did your one-woman show in French before you really knew how to fluently speak in French?
Bingo. Because I'm crazy.
Bananas. That's bananas.
Because I'm just that crazy. And yet the French audiences, they just were so warm and inviting. They went, she's coming along. She's learning, but I like the show. This is just really the stuff she's doing at school. And then, so I go back to school but we just didn't stop. And he then wrote a second show that was prairie-oriented. We had Confession du Gaz and Malautres of the Nelly. And we're now presenting what is our third show in production together. That's all about the 80s. And, of course, because lots of Little House stuff there. And it's just bonkers. And much like we were talking about our friend Jack, Bishop gets us out to the small towns in America. Yeah. With this show, we go out to the small towns in France, or as we say, l'esprit, head to Walnut Grove, where they have the spirit of Walnut Grove in these small towns where they wouldn't necessarily be seeing a show in Paris and where generally American actors don't just come flying in out of nowhere to come do a show. And in French, in their town. It's not something that would normally happen. Right. So it's massively exciting for everyone. And then it's fun for me because I'm seeing parts of France to talk about. It's not really on the tourist list. It's a whole other place and seeing all these gorgeous places that nobody goes to. So it's something for everybody in this deal.
See, this is why I love Allison, because she's like, oh, there's an audience in France. I guess I'll learn French now. And she did. And she does. And she speaks it fluently. It's like, who does how? Your brain is amazing, Allison.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's done more to advance Little House, not only in our country, absolutely, but to take it across the pond, as it were, and bring Little House directly to people who love it in another country in a completely different language, I think you deserve multiple gold stars for that. It was the French. I mean, they really just connected. We connected with each other, and then our guest, is
but
obviously
they connected with you. They connected with you specifically. Do you have any ideas why?
Well, several things. One, I think, as I said, something in the French sense of humor, the French sensibility, the whole Nellie character that appealed in a certain way. It's like, we do kind of like her. Okay. And I'm I have a strange sense of humor. I'm an odd person. And I think something about my sense of humor and the way I am somehow appealed to them. And then I always wanted to come to France. I was one of those kids. It seemed like all the storybooks I was reading had these characters in France. And I always thought, French food. And I thought, God, it'd be great to go to France. And now here I am. I'm here all the time. It was meant to be. And something about me and the French, we like each other.
I think we need to meet tonight's guest.
You do. Because there's no way this would have happened without him. Because he came up with this wild idea. When he first said it, I don't know, man, this is crazy. And then, of course, it's been like the biggest thing ever. Since I said,
all right. So I've invited you to do it, but before we do it, we need to intro the show. So Pamela, take us into the show.
I will take us into the show from the studios of UBN Go in Burbank, California. Visit SeeMeValley.com presents a special event podcast. That's us. This is Little House 50 for 50. Smelling the croissants. I'm imagining mines forming. We're going Viva la France this episode. We are so grateful to Visit SeeMeValley.com for their commitment to present the Little House 50 for 50 podcast. Honestly, thank you, Visit SeeMeValley.com. The Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary Cast Reunion and Festival in Simi Valley, California is right around the corner. It's coming. And Dean, tell us, what are we going to see?
Yeah, so it's going to be amazing for Little House fans. The fan experience with the beautiful sets that we're building. And, these sets are coming to life now in an extraordinary way. I think people are going to be, I've been saying this from the very beginning on the hope that they would be amazing. Now, as I'm seeing pictures of them actually coming into existence, they are going to be blown away by this. So I think that's going to be incredible. There's the Big Sky Movie Ranch tour where we're taking people back to the place where the show was actually shot at Big Sky Movie Ranch in the Santa Susana Mountains, up Tapo Canyon, in that dusty but beautiful, desolate place. People are going to be able to go there. And then there's going to be memorabilia, and there's going to be music and costumes and panels and discussions. And I think it's going to be amazing.
I know what's going to be there, you then say something else that's going to be there that is jaw dropping. And I'm like, what? Wait, that.
Well, and you're going to be there. You're going to be there. Pamela's going to be there moderating panels for us, because you, Pamela, are like an uber super fan who gets the series in a way and with a point of view that's very distinctive. And you bring a lot to that.
Thanks.
Yeah, a lot to that experience. Yeah. So let's. I'm sorry. We got. That's what's happening. March 22nd through 24th, 2024. It's going to be the biggest Little House event since the series ended. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
for sure.
There will be many wonderful events throughout the year, but this is absolutely going to be the largest of those events.
This is kickoff. This is like our big Super Bowl prairie thing.
Yes.
And then we have
the mother load.
Yes.
Yes.
Happening. So
the load of all prairie events.
So let's meet our guest tonight and talk more things prairie.
Okay.
Okay. And it's funny because we call you a fan, but it's like the definition of fan covers a lot of ground. I mean, there's people like, hey, I'm a fan of the show. But then there's people who's like, they're a fan, but it's because it's influenced their life. Now, my friend here who's coming on the show, he grew up with the show in France. Absolutely. And it definitely influenced his life. But he's so many more things. Okay. First of all, it's teacher week here. And indeed, he is a teacher. He is a professor. He teaches French. He's a French professor at the high school. And he's a chess champion, which is just kind of like, wait, what?
That's brilliant.
That's scary.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
And people said, why did you start working with him? I said, he's a chess champion. He thinks 3 moves ahead. Yeah. So, I was like, this is who I want to hang out with. And he coaches chess, and he's a writer. He's written about Little House on the Prairie. And so he is absolutely an expert on Little House on the Prairie, Little House Prairie trivia, the making of Little House on the Prairie. He's met the whole cast. He knows absolutely everything. And now he's a writer, producer. He's my co-producer and co-star in this series of crazy French shows that we're producing here. And you will absolutely love him. And Dean already knows him. My friend, Patrick Louati.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Welcome. Good. Very good.
Thank you. I have to apologize for my strong French accent. I'm really sorry. I can write English, I can read English, but I know that speaking English is much more difficult for me. I have a strong accent, so please.
I think you're giving yourself far too little credit. You sound great. You're perfectly understandable.
Yeah, no, Patrick. You're a great English speaker.
Patrick has a southern French accent.
Is that right?
Because you're down there in Le Grand Mont. It's not, you have many accents in French. You have your northern accent, you have your Parisian accent. And this is, I guess, as if we were interviewing someone from America and they were from Tennessee. We have a southern French accent today. So
Interesting. So these are things that when you're not French, you don't know that.
You wouldn't know.
I mean, when I hear French is French. But it's more than that. So, yeah.
Well, all the people who come from other countries to America to go to Disneyland or go to something, and they sit there and they study English, and then they get off the plane in New York, and somebody from Brooklyn is like, hey, yo,
yeah.
And then they go down to Alabama, and they say, hi, y'all, welcome to Alabama. And they're like, wait, I studied English. What is everyone speaking? It's kind of the same thing when I come to France. It depends on which town I go to, and I'm like, wow, that's a new one.
Well, Patrick, I got to meet you, and I'm just going to hold up the book that you wrote years ago as part of season 9 of Little House. Little House on the Prairie, A to Z is the name of the book, and
there it is.
There's the cover of the book, and Patrick, the work you did to tell all of our stories. I've said to people for years that you know more about all of us than we know about ourselves, frankly. Where did all of this come from for you?
Well, when I'm doing something, I always do it with passion. I do it completely. So if I write a book about Little House on the Prairie, I made researches. So I think I interviewed around 100 people who worked on the show. I mean, actors, guest stars, many crew members, even extras. And of course, not all of this is in this book, but it gave me a vision of Little House on the Prairie, which is very interesting because we learn a lot from all these people that you don't see on the screen, but who were on the set. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I received tons of extremely wonderful stories about Michael London. All the extras who played, who were maybe school children on the One Drop schools, all the crew members, all of them are just fantastic stories about Michael London on a human point. So in answer to your question, yes, I made all these researches and it was fun. It was fun to create this.
See, I think one of the things I think that's remarkable about you, Patrick, is that you have, so not only do you have the intellect to do this, you have the energy to do it, but you also have the guts to either pick up the phone or track people down and ask the question, and you do it in such a disarming way that I can't imagine anyone did anyone say no? I got to believe people are going to talk to you because they sense your love for all of this. So they're going to come with you or join with you to tell these stories. I mean, did you, any resistance from anyone? And maybe you wouldn't say.
Thank you so much for saying this. Yes, it was wonderful. I think the biggest example was Catherine McGregor, because Catherine McGregor had not done interviews in maybe 20 years or even more when I interviewed her. And she said no to everybody. And Richard Bull is the one who convinced her to let me phone her. He told her, oh, Patrick is great. You should talk to him. So she agreed that I phoned her. And when I phoned her, she was extremely, I don't know how to say it. She said hello, but she was not kind at the beginning.
Yeah, right. Not friendly.
Guarded.
Yes. Guarded. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And we started talking, and then we had a 2-hour conversation on the phone.
Yeah.
And then the 2 times when I came to the United States after this, she met me and she invited me to dinner, and she brought me to Malibu in her car, and we just became wonderful friends, and we had a strong relationship. And at first, it was completely impossible, and because she didn't want anything of this, but we were able to create a beautiful relationship, and I wrote a tribute book about her, and she loved it, and it was a wonderful adventure with Catherine.
Oh my gosh, how nervous were you before making that phone call? Lordy Lord.
I'm wondering if you remember what Catherine's license plate was.
Yes. Car. Yes. There was Ma.
I think it was LH Ma O. I think
she had Ma Go Ma at one point. Okay. Yes. And then LH Ma.
Yeah. She had, I think Catherine's, you're such a wonderful person to talk about, Catherine, because you got to know her really well. I adored Catherine. Anybody who was around the program when I was around it knows I had such affection for her. She had, I think you give sense of this, Patrick, that you could tell that once you engaged her, you could get her love for all of this enormous love and affection for it. But she had a bristly exterior where she wanted to know that you were really serious and that you got it the way she got it. She was
abroad.
Oh my God!
The best sense of the word.
Yes,
word,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. She would have loved you, Pam.
Well, she's very motherly, because Patrick, you have the story where she gave you directions because she was worried about you driving in the rain and insisted on telling you exactly how to go to her house.
It's funny that you remember this. Yes, one of the times where I was in LA. The last day, just before taking the plane to come back to France, this morning, I was at Dabs-Greer's home. I was at Dabs-Greer. I had to, anyway.
Like you do. You just make the rounds to the little house people. I understand.
And I loved Dabs-Greer. I just loved Dabs-Greer. Anyway, and I received a phone call on my cell phone, and I listened, and that was Catherine. And she was explaining to me that because of the rain, I shouldn't take the freeway because it was dangerous for me to take the freeway. So she explained me in detail that I should leave earlier and I should take this road. So it was just incredible. I was in Dabs-Greer's place and I had Catherine McGregor on the phone, who was explaining me. It was just crazy.
I'm sorry.
Being a fan of Little House, like experiences like that, or when things get so meta and your brain is like, what is happening right now? I can't believe this. Yeah, I get it.
Was this the day that you shot you did all the wonderful interviews for Imavision? And I remember doing one of those interviews. Was this that day, or was it maybe another day where you were visiting Dabs?
No, it was completely different. I went 3 times to Los Angeles.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Another time.
Yeah. Go, Pam.
But yes, what made me happy when we did these interviews for the DVDs, what was the most important for me is that we did that at Dabs-Greer's place.
Yeah.
And I wanted to interview him. I love Dabs-Greer. We had a beautiful relationship, like grandson to grandchildren. So I just loved him. And Dabs-Greer was a legend. He is one of the most prolific actors in the 20th century. What he did is just incredible. Yeah. And strangely, he had never been interviewed directly. So we know him for all his characters, but there were no video interviews of him. So I wanted to interview him. And now this interview exists. So you can see Dabs-Greer not as a character, but as Dabs-Greer.
Yeah.
So it was very close to my heart to do that about Dabs-Greer. And we had many beautiful stories with Dabs-Greer, which happened after that, but I cannot tell all of
Yeah, well, it's just there's just not enough time. He was a very he was a very special. What is it about Allison that sort of hooked you? Because
what is it about Allison?
Yeah, what is it about Allison that made you say we can do something together? What was that?
Good question. Why?
I have 3 reasons.
Oh dear.
First reason, of course, is just that she's extremely funny. I mean, when you see her on stage, she's just fabulous. She's extremely charismatic. So she's just brilliant. So I knew that doing a comedy show with her, everybody would love her. So that's the first thing. She's extremely funny. The second reason is that, that was a long time ago.
That's a nice picture.
In a cornfield.
I remember it was in 2009 in Jepsheim, Alsace. I remember.
Oh, Jepsheim.
Anyway, the second reason is that she's crazy. And from me, it is a compliment, of course. Who can, do you know many American actors who would try to learn French at more than 40 years old? She was around 42 at the time. And with no guarantees, because the person who was organizing all of this was not a professional. I was not a writer, producer. Yeah, I was a writer of books, but not of shows. But she trusted me. But she had to be crazy to go in such an adventure. So that was the second reason. And the third reason, which is probably the most important, is that she's a very kind person.
Yeah.
And in my life, I try to be kind with everybody. And if I did a show about Little House of the Prairie, I had to do it with someone who would share that with me. I didn't want fans to be disappointed by the actress, leaving after the show or being unpleasant with them. I wanted someone who would be kind to every fan. And I knew that she would be like that. Yeah. And she is. Yeah. We've done shows together as a duet on stage for 18 years now. 18 years.
Wow.
And in 18 years, every night we stay for the signings after the show, at least 2 hours every night. And every night she is kind to every person in 18 years. So that's the main reasons why I wanted to do that with her and why I never regretted it.
Now, you said that, I know when you first went out there, were you doing Confessions of a Prairie Bitch? Was that the first thing that you did out there? Or did you have to revamp it?
Yeah, it had to be redone. I was doing Confessions of a Prairie Bitch in New York and Los Angeles, and he knew about this, and he said, well, there's a thing here. He said, obviously, this whole piece makes no sense in French, and these celebrities. He says, but there are certain pieces, jokes about Saddam Hussein, amazingly. He says, certain things completely translate, and he said, and then other things, he said, but because when you came for the talk show and your other visits, you met a bunch of French celebrities. So now you have wacky stories about the French celebrities. Similar.
Okay.
So what if we did this? And then, of course, the fact that, as I said, I spoke how many words of French. So it became this 2-person show where he speaks, I speak, show a video, I speak, show a video, he speaks, and then together. So it became kind of a weird 2-person sketch multi-stand-up thing.
So it's sort of a deviation. Yeah, a deviation, another version.
It's the French version, and it is specifically for the French. It's in French, but it's French sensibility and celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't know that French sensibility, did you? Or, I mean, that's, Patrick, what I suppose what you sort of came in and helped create together.
I was picking up on it, which is why I wanted to do it. As I went, there's something here that is different from the American audience, and I like it. And then Patrick said, okay, here's what we do. And I was like, really? Okay, well, and as I said, here we are now with our third show. So
you do realize that's the actor's nightmare of having to speak another language that you don't know yet in a show. That's insane. I'm still not over it.
As I said, I have to thank Patrick again, because I have met with neurologists who have told me, if you learn a second language after 40, it does wonderful things for your brain.
Yeah.
So, Thank you again.
I've heard that too.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah. You've given her. Given her a renewal for another. She's good for another 40 years at least.
Thanks, France.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I think we need to take a quick break, but we will be back with more conversations with Patrick and Allison after this message from visitsimivalley.com.
Yes.
Visit Simi Valley, California invites you to see the place where it all began. This March at the Little House on the Prairie 50th anniversary, discover our stories from presidents to pioneers. Visit iconic locations like the Reagan Library and more. Make your own memories at visitsimivalley.com.
Ooh, Dean. Cannot wait for your audiobook to come out. Okay. Well, welcome back, everyone. Our guest, once again, is French author and Little House impresario Patrick Louatière. I said that correctly, did I not?
Is that correct? Good for you. I've never pronounced it right. Wow. Good for you. Good for you. I'm just curious, how do the two of you, we know that, okay, you've created the shows together. I mean, do you sit in a room and bat this around? How do you two work together? I mean, you're not often in the same room. Do you do Zoom calls, phone calls, email? How do you do it?
Tree. So when the third show was the funniest thing because, we'd done the first and then we'd done Nellie Olson's Trunk of Treasures, Le Mal au Trésor, the Nellie Olson. And I was like, I don't know. We've done both of these shows. He said, well, I have an idea for a third show, but you'll think I'm crazy. Third show. And a lot of it winds up being by email, where he will email me and go, okay, I have this idea that we're going to do a piece about this story. What do you think? And I go, no, it's great. It's great. Well, what about this? And then so that goes back and forth. And then there might be a phone call or a Zoom call, or then, like I said, while we're doing one show, talking about the next show. But a lot of it winds up being by email. And then finally I get actually in the country and we can meet together with the script. And sometimes there's things that we didn't know how they worked until we did them on stage and said, oh, okay, well, that didn't work, or no, that was great. It's a very strange process.
We are probably the people who had the least rehearsals in the world.
Yeah.
But it works. It works because I think there is trust between each other and friendships. Mm-hmm. So we make it work, but every time our first show, we created it in 2006, the second one in 2012, and the third one, last year. And each time we had our first rehearsal the day before. So it was just crazy each time. But and I have to thank Alison because she trusts me. Mm-hmm. I really feel that. And it's important because each time that I send her something, she says, oh, that's great. She's always very positive and she trusts me. So thank you for that.
Well, and as we're talking about with Little House on the Prairie, we didn't have big rehearsals or table read, maybe a little rehearsal on the set. So talk about no table read. It's like I have the script and then we get to the country and then it's like, okay, well, we have to try some rehearsal with the video, but we often also have trouble knowing what we're going to do because we keep taking this to different towns with very small places and places we have done the show. We'll arrive in the middle of the day. We're going to do this on Friday. Arrive in the middle of the day and meet with the people, then go to the theater and say, do you have the lights? Do you have the sound? Do you have good. And then get up and start maybe what we call a cue to cue, maybe do that kind of thing. Make sure the video clips work. Do a little bit here, a little bit there. And then that's it. And then on with the show. And the places we've performed this and all of the shows, we don't know. Sometimes we get there and it's a real theater. This place has a nice little theater. And other times it's kind of their rec center. Now, Patrick, we've been in a barn, a castle, a mental hospital, the mental hospital show. I really like the mental hospital show.
Amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing.
We've done the show in every possible building.
Allison, when you walk down the street in France, are you booed or cheered? I'm curious.
Oh, definitely cheered. And that was the funny thing. I first came to France. I said, "Oh, they like me here." Okay, enfant de l'été.
They love you everywhere, and it's that they love to hate you. That's so much fun, you know.
But it's and of course, Patrick, he gets this because the song that he used opening the first show was the song "Love to Hate You," because he knows that's
nice.
That's
nice.
The spirit right there. And what happened is that in France, I was the first talk show I was on. They had a whole conversation. The actors were also on the panel about how Nellie was jealous, a child without a smile, and the poor thing, she couldn't help it. They're sympathetic to me. So here, people are very happy to see me, but it's interesting because the first few years I was coming to France, if people saw me in the street, they said, "Oh, Nellie," and now they say Alison.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. That's a big shift.
They loved to hate Nellie.
Yeah.
And now they love to love Alison.
Yeah. What is Patrick, what is the state of Little House? You know, here we are in the 50th year. What is the state of Little House in France now? We know what it's been, but how do you feel it now?
It's still on.
Yes, I think the first viewers loved the show, and then they wanted their children to watch the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the grandchildren now watch the show as well. So generation after generation, I cannot say anything else. I think it's the same in the United States. It's just a fantastic show. Thanks to Michael London and thanks to all the people, Kent McRae and all the crew members, all the actors, Melissa Gilbert, Karen Grassley, Melissa Sue Anderson, all the actors who created something magical, which is universal and is just as good today as it was 50 years ago.
Yeah. And it's so cool and refreshing that you're a man talking about Little House, you know, that you hold reverence for it, because so many men are afraid to come out of that prairie closet, as we've talked about before, and that you're so just unabashedly upfront about it, and your career is based around it for some part at least, and it's just so wonderful. What did you feel was your connection to the show when you first started watching it?
Well, I was just watching at this family at this small village. I just wanted to go there. Yeah. Like many people, I think there is nothing special in my story. Yeah. I just thought it was great. I wanted to go there. And it's what happened is that I wrote a book more than 25 years ago, just because I noticed that nobody had ever done it before. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the French book that I did. Mm-hmm. Nobody had done it in the United States before. So I said, why? This show is so popular. Nobody wrote a show explaining the success of this. So I wrote this book, but it was not supposed to be followed by other Little House adventures. Right. It was just a book about the show of my childhood. And what happened is that after the publication of this book, I sent copies to most of the actors of the show. Mm. And I remember one week, which was just incredible. I go to my mail. On Monday, I had an answer from Charlotte Stewart. Oh. On Tuesday, I had an answer from Karen Grassley.
Oh, wow.
On Wednesday, I had an answer from, etc., and all the actors. And we created some relationship. And so that's why I'm still doing things. And my life is completely different than Little House on the Prairie. I wrote many books which are not at all related to Little House on the Prairie. And I'm a teacher and I'm doing many other things. But Little House on the Prairie is still in my life because of the friendships. The friendships with some of the actors, some of the crew members. I was close to Miles Meadow. Miles Meadow, which the actors called Uncle Miles, who was an assistant director. Just a wonderful man. I'm happy to give tribute to him tonight. And also the friendships with the fans, because when we do all these shows, we have so many kind people in the audience, and we create relationship with them. Some of them are friends of us now. And I'm thinking, for example, of Hervé and Jimmy, who were fans of the show. And now we are doing the technique for us for the show. They are working with us on the show. So nice. All these stories are stories of friendships.
I'm curious because we're racing for the finish here, Patrick. It's the hour or the 45 minutes has flown by. With your sensibilities and your view of the world, what are your favorite episodes? Give me 2 or 3 favorite episodes that you really like. And don't say Bunny, okay? Because I get sick of hearing Bunny all the time. Take Bunny out of it. What are your favorite episodes?
You will be surprised, Dean. When I was watching Little House on the Prairie, I was not a fan of Nellie. My favorite episode were not Nelly's episode. I love Alison. I didn't especially love Nelly. I love Alison because she's just a fantastic person, but I was not with Nelly. So my favorite episodes, it's very difficult, but there are episodes with a lot of emotion. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, for example, The Richest Man in Walnut Grove. Mm-hmm. The Craftsman was just wonderful as well.
Lovely. Oh, that's a good one.
The Odyssey, which was a sad but very beautiful episode. I'm thinking, and the first 2 episodes in Walnut Grove, The Harvest of Friends and Country Girls, are just wonderfully done because they just brought everything in these 2 episodes.
Yes.
The last scene of A Harvest of Friends, you have the friendships, all these characters. You have Dr. Becker, Larsonson, and all of them came to help Charles and Gals. And it's the spirit of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love those picks.
Those are great picks.
Non-bunny picks.
Look, we all love Bunny. Okay, see,
Justice for Bunny.
We all love Bunny, but it's just, I love that you love the really emotional ones. I think that's where the heart of but the heart is in all of it. But those that you've chosen, I think really, Michael was brave enough to tell those kinds of stories. I think he was unafraid of the sentimentality in these kinds of stories. And I always go to the music that David Rose wrote that are just these beautiful cues that bring the heart of these stories to life in a very powerful way.
I just recently watched The Craftsman, and my God, I always knew it was a great episode, but rewatching it again, I was gobsmacked how good that episode is. So moving. It's really, really good.
Patrick, thank you. Thank you for coming. By the way, we're calling this episode Ooh La La, just so you know. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so wonderful meeting you, really.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll be right back with a question or two after this from visit SimiValley.com.
Simi Valley, California invites you to see the place where it all began this March at the Little House on the Prairie 50th anniversary. Discover our stories from presidents to pioneers. Visit iconic locations like the Reagan Library and more. Make your own memories at visitsimivalley.com.
Okay, we're back. Do we have time for a couple of questions?
I think it's got to be. Yeah, I think we're really zeroing in on here. So a couple of questions. Quick questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay.
Jen Hawker asks, how is it possible you've done 6 episodes and Zaldamo hasn't been mentioned? Although we're at episode 9 now, and still Zaldamo has not been mentioned.
I don't. It did, and we
How
did say it.
Nickname?
Yeah, we did say it in the promo. Oh, yeah, Zaldamo. So so Catherine.
How did that nickname come about?
So Catherine,
how could anyone keep a straight face when Harriet would say it? That was her question.
Well, and we all know. We've all made reference to it. Catherine was irrepressible and had a wonderful sense of comedy. And the line was supposed to be, she was supposed to spin it to be Dalzamo. She kept saying, she turned it to Zaldamo, and she got corrected about 3 times.
Zaldamo's funnier.
And finally, Michael relented and just go, because got a huge laugh. Zaldamo got a massive laugh.
Zaldamo is funnier than Dalzamo, but it is.
It
just is.
It just is.
And I remembered when she did the day she did, because it was it's Dalzamo. Okay. Zaldamo, cut. Dalzamo. This went on and then finally, fine, keep it. And then it was like, wait, Zaldamo works, and that's it. And then and it's like, why? Why were we fighting this? It's Zaldamo. It clearly is Zaldamo. And no, we did not keep a straight face at various times. We lost it completely, and we're like, when she would say that.
Yeah, so, she was just fearless, and I
don't know why, but it's like comedy is a science sometimes, right? Like it's
totally.
all in the timing, or it's all in like a letter or a number, and one is funnier than the other, and sometimes there's no rhyme or reason other than it just is. So Zaldamo it is. Awesome. All right, one more question. Here we go. Matt Lengel asks, I learned that several episodes were filmed in or around Jamestown, Sonora, California. Mm-hmm. I heard that the cast members would fly into the Modesto airport.
With Stockton or Modesto. Yeah.
Okay. And they'd caravan up to the Gold Country to film. How does he know this? I know the Runaway Caboose episode was supposedly filmed up there, and I took my daughters on a train ride in that area. Did either of you participate in any of the filming there? If so, can you tell us about the experience?
Yes. Yeah, he's talking about the infamous, is it the number 3 train that's in every movie and television show that shoots in California? It's the hardest working train in show business.
It earned its keep. Yeah.
And why they don't change the number on the front of it, I never know. But it's just like in every film, there it is. And yes, it's that train that everyone uses, and we use that train like a billion times. Yeah. Now, Dean, did you go up there much? I mean, we went up there as kids.
Sure. Well, you have the wonderful, the camp out, the river where you and Laura, isn't that where you and Laura get swept away in the river?
Oh, okay.
Which is one of the great moments.
When we were kids, the Fool's Gold thing, we're panning for gold, that was up there. The camp out was up there. And of course, the famous one with Melissa, the Lord is my shepherd.
Fabulous. One of my favorites of all time.
We'd go up there and we'd shoot like a bunch. It would be one of those things we'd go up there like once a year and go, how many episodes do we need stuff? We need a mountain. And so we'd shoot a bunch. And we kids loved it because we would go trout fishing. There was a roller skating rink in the itty bitty little town that was there.
Bowling alley too. Did you ever go bowling?
I did not go bowling. I went skating. Bats also lived in the caves in the mountains, and at the pool sometimes we'd be out by the pool. The bats would come down, but drink at the pool, and all the mothers would scream and run away, and all of us kids would go, "Awesome, bats!"
How far away was it? How long did it take to get there?
It was the flight would have been about an hour, and then the drive would have been about an hour and a half to get up there.
Yeah. But it was great. It was great. And then there were lots of snakes and critters and this huge river. And it was like going to summer camp. It was our summer camp thing. We're we're going up to Sonora.
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you, Elsa. There are so many stories we could tell. I think we've got to say good night.
Say toodaloo.
For now, yeah. Good night or good morning.
We have to say bonne nuit. Et fait dodo.
Yeah. It's good morning. It's good morning in Southern California, and it's good evening in France, where you are.
And good afternoon in New York.
And good afternoon.
Intercontinental here. Okay, everyone, you're listening to the Little House 50 for 50 podcast. We're out there on socials. You know where to find us, the Little House 50 podcast, and YouTube and our website, littlehouse50podcast.com. And you can reach us there. Links are there. We're all up. Like and subscribe. And thanks for listening, everyone. Go to littlehousefestival.com for the Little House on the Prairie 50th anniversary cast reunion and festival. We'll see you next time.
Cue the music. Let's fly.
Prochaine fois.
Fly. Airplane arms. Jazz hands.